Well, good morning everyone and welcome to another podcast. As you can hear, I'm back out on the river this morning. I was going to fish a weir pool further up the river, but there's not a huge amount of water in there at the minute, and I know there's some deeper runs and riffles further downstream, so I'm just wading downstream to some of these quicker bits of water. I think I'm going to start by running a check nymph down some of the heads of the pools. I've got up fairly early and there's no sunshine really on the river just yet, so hopefully there's a few fish feeding. I'm just going to take it nice and steady because I'm just approaching the head of one of these pools now. I've got my favourite check nymph on, the check tan bug. There's lots of grayling in this river, so although I can't see anything rising, I'll be pretty confident there's actually some fish there. Get over these rocks and get out into the main body of this first pool. Just go as steady as I can. A bit deeper than I thought actually. Let's get across into the flow. The river's almost cut a canyon through the woodland here. There's very steep sides, lots of old trees, and there's a buddleia hanging over the side of the river as well. I can't see any butterflies on it yet, but I'm sure there will be when the sun gets up and it warms up a touch. Right, let me just get myself in position and check this nymph looks about right. I've got my usual river outfit today. It's a 4-weight rod, about 8 feet of fluorocarbon, and check tan bug, just a single fly. I like to chop and change flies maybe a bit today. I might try an upstream nymph. I'll put a dry on if they start to come up a touch. Right, let's get this fly out there somewhere. Just watching I've greased up the high-vis braided connector at the end and just tracking it down the stream, watching it. I'm reasonably confident of getting a fish on this method on this river. If I can get a few in the net, I might try and experiment and have a play with a few different flies and a few different methods. I'm tempted today to have a go at putting a little streamer on in, stripping it through some of the deeper pools that are difficult to fish, and just see if I can tempt a slightly bigger fish, maybe a bigger trout. But we'll try and get a few in the net ups first on the nymph and see how we go. As with everywhere at the minute, the weather's not been kind for fly fishing this year. It's so warm and dry and low, and when the sun gets up it's been so bright, but this river's still got plenty of water in it. It's not too bad. Oh, put it in the tree. That's okay, we're out. There's always a branch in just the spot you want to get it into, isn't there? There we are. Just check the fly's okay after putting it in the tree. I've got my wading stick in the left hand just so I can probe my way up the stream. It's always a lovely smell being out on the river first thing in the morning, just as the sun's starting to just hit the top of the trees, and you get that. You can still almost smell the coolness of the river in the air. A dewy type smell, fresh, almost mountain smell. And then, I think we're in then. And as the sun warms up in summer, the smell changes from that kind of cool, fresh smell to a more heady, kind of fragrant smell. I think it's probably as the blossoms and the flowers start to produce a scent in the sunshine. I always remember that as a child, the the smell of the water first thing in the morning. I said I was reasonably confident in getting one, and this pool's dead as a dodo. But it may well be a little deeper than I think they're going to be. Unless they're all stacked up at the head. Sometimes the whole pool's dead, and then just as you get to the very thin riffle at the top, there's 3 or 4 fish all stacked up together. I'm just about 10 feet away from that point at the minute. Just tapping the heavy nymph upstream and letting it trundle back down. Well, the nymph's getting to the right zone because I can see it just touching the bottom here or there, but looks like there's nothing at home today in this pool. I'm right in the head of the pool now. Nope, nothing wanting to play in here. That's strange. I could almost guaranteed a fish out of here. Let's walk a bit further downstream and see if there's anything there. There's lots and lots of fry about this year. You can just see them scattering in the shallows, and it seems to be a bumpy year, especially on my river out in Derbyshire, and I'm wondering if it's because we had such a cold, long winter, and there was lots of water coming through from late autumn right through to May almost. It was very cold and wet, lots of snow melt coming down. I'm just wondering if they've had maximum time to spawn. It was giving every fish an opportunity that wanted to spawn to have a go, and I wonder if that's why there's a few more fry around this year. Or of course it could just be that it's a bit lower and brighter and I'm seeing more fish. I'll keep walking downstream, I think. Let's see if I can find a few nice bits to have a casting down here. Although this looks a nice little run, probably not for a grayling, but for a little trout. It's an overhang and there's a bit of pocket water, and it looks like there's a few deeper holes where you could just imagine a little brownie getting involved. So I think I'll just run a quick fly down here while I'm here, just in case there's a little brownie down there. Here we go. What we got here? Yeah, little brown trout, just as I expected. Exactly what I expected and where. You see these little quick areas of water where you've also got some deeper pockets, and they're full of wild brownies at the minute. Hook's falling out in the net. Let's unhook this. He's only 4 or 5 inches. Let's pop him back. Lovely. Well, we're off the mark for the day with a little wild brown trout. I'll just run a fly down this run again, just in case there's another one there. Sorry, I have to excuse my straining. I've got a small hernia at the minute, and just bending down is a little bit unpleasant, so you might hear some odd noises during the podcast. No, let's I think we've fished this one out. Let's keep walking down and see what else we can get further downstream. I'm not actually fishing downstream. What I'm doing is I'm wading downstream and then finding a pool, wading round it and then tackling it. Ideally you'd wade upstream and tackle each pool from behind, but just with the access to the river here and where you have to park to get there, you've got to get in and then walk downstream. and I've just come across a giant inflatable football. I'm coming up to a nice looking run here, and I'll skirt my way around the outside and get in behind it and fish my way up. I think I might actually tackle this on a kingfisher there. Might tackle this on an upstream nymph, I think. Doesn't look particularly deep. I'll see what happens. I'll try on the check nymph to start off with, and then see if we need to swap. Oh, that was a take. Looked like a little trout maybe again. Very aggressive. Yes, let's change to an upstream nymph. Crouch down to get this cast under the tree branches. Just fishing on the seam of the current, it's always a likely spot as the fast water meets that slightly slower water. There we go. Oh, that was a big fish. That was a decent fish. Saw it turn as it was pricked. Never mind. Oops. But it was just where I thought it would be, just on the seam of the current. The fly I've got on at the minute for the upstream nymphing is our shrimper fly. To be honest, I mainly fish with shrimp imitations for grayling if I'm fishing subsurface. Either the big heavy check nymphs or the shrimpers not heavily leaded, so you can cast it upstream and just let it tumble back through the current. And that might be it for this pool. That was a nice fish as well, it really was. Right into the little funnel of the pool now. It's probably only, there's a gap about 3 feet wide, and it's pretty much the whole river's having to come through it. Obviously it'd be wider if there's more water in it, but it's still coming through at a fair old pace. And I'm fishing in that very quick, fast stuff at the top. Just put a heavier fly on just for this last few feet. Just put a heavier fly on, and we'll just probe this last little bit just to get down, see if there's anything down there. Very quick water. Trees are so overgrown at the minute, they're really covering all the lies that you're desperate to get your fly exactly into, and it's almost impossible. That's a better cast. Right, I've just retackled as I had an argument with a tree, and the tree won. I'm going to keep wading downstream, and I think I'll try the heavy nymph for a little longer, and then maybe try a different tactic. Right, I've waded a fair old way downstream and just decided to take the plunge, wade all the way down, and then nymph my way back up, changing tactics as I go. I think that's probably better than just wading a bit and fishing a bit, wading a bit, fishing a bit. Give myself a nice clear run at the stream. Oh, upstream nymphing with a shrimper and just dropping it onto the bubble stream at the minute. There we are. Oh, he's off. Little monkey. You do find that with these fishing very short range with barbless flies, you do bump a few off, unfortunately. I could actually do with a 11-foot 3-weight rod, something really soft. But I like to be able to chop and change between check nymphing and upstream nymphing. I have to stick with a 9-foot 4-weight really, just so I can do both. There's a fish just risen right in front of me. Oh, I've pricked another. Oh dear. Well, at least I found a few feeding fish anyway, but that was another good fish. I always tell when it's a decent fish because you don't get that instant speedy fight from a little one. You think you've hit the bottom and then the bottom starts to thud on the rod. Right, here we are. Let's see if we can keep this one on. It's the way that these... Come on. There we are. That's a nice grayling, that. It's the way that the grayling twist and turn in the current. Quick release. He's probably 12 inches, that grayling. Nice fish. Right, good, that's a couple in the net, a few pricked. We'll keep on going upstream and see what else I can get. It's a lovely little glide, this. It's a nice even current, going quick enough to fish the nymph or the bug, and it's lovely wading underfoot, just very easy gravel. I'm just probing all the different likely spots as I head upstream and watching that braided loop, just waiting for it to stop, trying to wade as carefully as I can. Too many people clomp around the river. If you just take it steady and take it easy and take your time, fish your way up the runs nice and stealthily, then you'll catch far more fish. And the current's just going to curve round a rock in front of me. It's just created a pinch point, and that's the area where I would expect to get into maybe another fish, just waiting off that pinch point for food that's coming round in that concentration of current. That looked like a take. I missed it. Right, we've fished that pool out, and then we've got another smaller pool just ahead of me. I'm just going to stop and check my flies are all okay. Check everything's in order before I start fishing this next pool up. Alright, we're all sorted. The fly looks fine. The sun's just starting to break through the trees and we're getting a bit of dappled light now. And I keep fishing up. It's a little shallow here, and I've just seen a fish rise actually in the tail of the next pool up. This stuff I'm in here is a little shallow. I'll try anyway. There's maybe a hole behind this rock here. Oh, another take I missed. Here we are. Another grayling in the net. So that was another nice fish, probably 10 or 11 inches. And I actually saw that fish just down near the bottom ahead of me, and it had 2 goes at the nymph, and I was ready for him 3rd time. So I'm fishing this nymph in almost what would be considered the fashion of a traditional upstream spider. Just tapping it upstream with the about a rod's length of line, and then lifting the rod to retrieve the slack and just watching the braided loop. That's another take. Can hear some very cross dogs somewhere. Oh, missed it. Oh, missed it. Another nice take then. Ah, missed it again. Right, keep walking upstream, I think. I just hooked a little trout about 4 or 5 inches in it. Somersaulted out of the water about 3 feet and shook the hook. Fair play. Oh, and another one. Oh, another little trout's thrown it. They are quick though, these things. There's a nice looking bubble stream here. I catch a lot of fish from bubble streams, just those areas where the white bubbles are concentrated on the surface in the little channels. Oh, missed it. And you find those areas, they also concentrate the food. So they're good little lies for trout and grayling. Oh, that was a big fish. That took my fly as it touched, as it hit the water. Oh, and another take. They're just coming on the feed, these fish now. This is it's a beautiful little pool. Nice even currents and all the rocks just in the right place, just where you want them to hold fish. Oh, and he's off. That's 3 or 4 I've pricked in here. Well, I've got a bit of faster stuff here, but I think it's worth fishing it. I'll fish up fairly quickly. Oh yes, there you go. Oh, it's off again. Another grayling. Quick release. Well, I'm losing a lot of fish. I might just check this hook actually and just check it's sharp. Feels fine. Well, I've lost count of the amount of fish I lost there. I think I had 2 in the net and I think I pricked and lost about 6. It happens though when you're fishing barbless hooks close range. Let's fish up this next pool, see what we can get from there. Well, I missed 1 take already. That's a long glide this, probably the longest glide on the river. It's a good 100 foot of fish in here. And I would imagine there's fish all the way up this section. I've had 2 or 3 lightning takes I've missed, and then 1 I should have got a bit better on. I'm just dropping it into the bubble streams and letting that nymph tumble down. Right, I've changed fly actually to a Sawyer's killer bug, just because this glide looked like it lends itself a little more, I think, to upstream nymphing than fishing with the heavy bugs. Putting out a more traditional overhead cast, a bit of a longer line, and letting oh, that was a good take as well. God, there's some fish down there feeding now. And just letting that line really run down the glide for a long way. But I suspect some of these takes, they're probably little trout just attacking it. It's not like a slow, steady stop in the fly line, it's a sudden shoot and then nothing. And you've just got to be lightning fast to get them. They're just attacking the fly and spitting it. Well, I've dropped that perfectly in the bubble stream there. And to cast under a tree branch as well, tricky casting. These are always where the fish are. Got a nice back cast behind me. Oh, I've treed it. No! Ah, it's off, just in a leaf. It's always the advantage of summer fishing is that when you do get your flies in the trees, they're often just nicked in a leaf and you can pull them out. If you contrast that to what it's like fishing March, April when there's no leaves on the trees, your leader twirls and wraps around the branch and then you've had it. It's like there's an old bike sticking out here. Upstream ahead of us. Nice run of water. Is it fast and quick and the river's squeezing through a small gap. There's a bubble stream ahead and a nice bit of turbulent water for the nymph. I'm casting over my wrong shoulder, which is making it a little harder. I've had 3 to the net and I've lost count of how many I've lost, to be honest. It's just been one of those days where I've pricked lots of fish and they've not stuck. But I'm going to continue fishing the pools back up to the top of the beat, and then I'm tempted to have a go at fishing a small streamer. I've never done it on this river, so it'd be interesting to see what comes out. If anything, it's not really ideal conditions for streamer fishing. You're best doing it early after a bit of a flood when the water's slightly coloured up and a little bit heavier, and the bigger trout come out and feed. Or it can be very effective early in the season, sort of late March, April time when the fish are just coming out of they finish spawning, they're starting to feed up and they can be fairly aggressive. But it might be nice just to give it a go, but I'll see how I get on. Just fish up some of these little riffles as I'm walking up. There we go, we're in again. This feels like a trout this time. Yeah, it is. Little brownie. There he is. Got him. Well, at least one's stuck anyway. I'm happy with that fish. Sometimes things don't stick and don't go your way and you keep plugging away. It's a nice little, it's only a small pool this. In fact, I think this morning I've had more success in the very little pools, the kind of thing that a lot of people would skip over. I seem to have caught more in there than I have in the big, deeper ones. Right, there's another very deep pool ahead of me. I'm just going to fish the lip of it first. Quite often there's a fish just lying in the lip in the quick water at the bottom. Oh, I don't know if that was a fish or not. I just felt a bump as I lifted off. It's quite slow here. There's absolutely nothing rising, so I don't really fancy putting a dry on. I think they're all deeper down. And that looked like a tweak then. In these slower pools, if you're going to fish a nymph, it's quite often successful to give it a little tweak. Just a little lift to the rod tip, just to put a tiny bit of movement in it, so it gives it a bit of life. And it is slow and deep. It's remarkable how coloured this water is actually, for saying we've not had any rain for a while. Very coloured, which isn't a bad thing. It's always fishes better with a bit of colour in the water. Again, the casting's tricky, just over the wrong shoulder, close to the trees. Bit of a reach cast, and I can just change the angle of the line. Oh, I missed you again. A reach cast is good when you want to cast over your right shoulder, but the way that you need to fish is kind of on your left hand side. If you do a reach cast over your shoulder, then you can adjust the angle of the line so it fishes properly. Oh, there's a perfect looking run ahead of me, but it's all gone a bit quiet again. Oh, that was I said that and a line shot away. Yes! There we go. Right at the top of the pool. Nice grayling. Ah, good. I would have expected one out of this pool, and I was just trying to think that I wasn't going to get one and then have one at the pretty much last cast. Right, well, that's I think 4 or 5 in the net now, and I've not been counting how many I've lost, but it's been quite a few. That line needs a bit more grease on it actually, it's sinking a bit. Not much of a hatch today, I've barely seen anything flying around, and there's been very little rising, I've only seen a couple, so I think nymphing's the way to go. Just run a bit more grease up this braided connector, get it floating nice and high. And another brownie, just in a bit of pocket water. That I was almost just walking through it, and I thought I'll always fish your way through a piece of water, and it's grabbed it. That's a lovely fish. Pleased with that one. Oh, lovely. My water's speeding up a bit here. Right, we've got a lovely tasty bit of water ahead of us now. It's a very small pool, but there's a lovely current stream and lovely overhanging trees. It looks absolutely ripe for a fish. That was a take. It's a beautiful little pool, this. Only small, I bet it's only 6 foot across, but it's absolutely perfect for fishing. Yes, oh, missed it. Came off. That was a little trout, I think, that. Oh, it's deep. It's a deep little pool. Yeah, you could hop across the river at this point. It's up to my... If I actually got into the... There we go, I'm in. I said if I actually got into the pool properly, I reckon I'd be over my chest waders here. It's another little brown trout, this, by the feel of it. You can always tell the scrappy fighters. Well, that's me done. I've had a cracking morning fly fishing, lost quite a few, but netted some as well. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you want to find out more about the flies used, please visit our fly shop at shop.peaksflyfishing.com. And for fly fishing tuition and coaching, it's www.peaksflyfishing.com. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.